Welcome to another episode of Not for the Weak Minded. Now, just as I've been trying to show you how the news articles are written in a way with truth and lies to either can put you to sleep or wake you up, I'm going to show you now how the television does the same thing. And so we're going to watch PBS's Nature Living Volcanoes. Sorry. Okay, let's just take a quick look. They have to label this as nature, right? Now this is a subconscious suggestion and already, and a label. So, bear that in mind, please.
We live on a restless planet. Every day...
Right, straight away, what they've done is they've shown you real close-up images of lava. So let's start again. Label nature. Here we go. So now, this image here is of lava, right? Okay, there's no disputing that lava's real. So there is some kind of heat process or mechanism that creates lava.
We live
Close up.
on a...
Now, this is a vent. Just like you have them underwater, this is a vent. Now, a lot of this stuff has to do with creation itself and the temperature, the controlling of temperatures. And some of these things also are not what we've been perceived it to be, because some of the images later on, which I'll show you, are actually explosions and then photographs of bombs being dropped rather than actually volcanoes or mountains. Because, as I've said in a lot of my other work, the emulation of technological creation, mountains are very large animals that have been turned to stone, petrified, and that what we perceive nature to be is actually creation, and that there are mechanisms, as spoke about in the book of Enoch, which has to do with the regulatory system of the earth, you know, the hot air cold cycle system, and the portals at the coordinate positions of the earth.
restless planet.
Now, you see, they have given you a CGI image from space, which doesn't exist, and this is just a composite to convince you of a lie. So they're using real images right at the start of the label nature, and essentially, as you will see, getting away with something which is not. So this image is, yes, is a composite of the earth, but it's not real. Okay, this is not a real image of earth from space. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. Only deception from low Earth orbit.
Every day on Earth, around 30 volcanoes violently erupt. By exploring the planet's most...
Sorry. Gotta be very quick. Right there. See this? This is pyramids underneath that. No doubt. There is so much to know about the gods, about the mountains, about geological time, about what is geology, about the core theories which are now being brought forward for the television using truth and lies, just like they do with the articles, to convince you of an earth that doesn't really exist.
By exploring the
And also perception of this photograph, you gotta remember that the camera lens stretches the image, and so if we were here in person, this mountain would look twice as close. It should be here in person. It would be closer. And so this connects to civilization, the gods, and also relates to the Bible in every single way possible. And you got to see why the Bible's being burned around the world and why Christians are now the target.
planet's most active volcanoes today.
So what do we see in this image? I see destruction from above. I see this as a bomb. Because what you bear in mind is they have been using technology to bomb ancient sites, and that are connected to the gods, connected to the creators, and so a lot of this stuff is not what we perceive it to be. You know, look at this, look, it looks like a pyramid right there, look, right there, look at that. Perfect lines, look. See it? Pyramid right there. So they're bombing these sites, and this is an attack.
This is amazing.
Okay. This is a perfectly circular hole, and, well, bare enough. And this has to do with, again, the lava and the mechanisms of the created earth. And so they've been labeling stuff that's part of creation as nature to convince you that this earth is insignificant, when in reality it's created, and you are created, you have a soul, and the lies of this reality are so deep. But when you start looking with your eyes, you'll see that there's something amiss, and how they use these things.
We discover how they hold the secrets to the origins of life. How they continue to shape our planet.
Without volcanoes, there wouldn't be life on Earth.
And how...
So, did you hear that? Without volcanoes, there wouldn't be life on Earth. So, this Earth is created, and without the mechanisms of these devices and these crazy engineering marvels, life would not exist to begin with. Do you understand the importance of these ancient sites that are connected to mountains and volcanoes that are part of creation?
life has adapted to thrive in their shadows.
It's a destructive force, but it's also a force that makes life possible.
Volcanoes are not just forces of destruction. They are the...
So this volcano here, it's not a volcano, is it? It's a massive hole that can be seen, that goes down to a level that's part of where the lava goes and part of the mechanisms again.
lifeblood of our planet.
And just to remind you, it's nature we're dealing with here. This is all not nature. It's all by accident. It's all by chance. Nothing's created in this world. Absolutely nothing. Back to the CGI image of Earth to make you think this insignificant and just a random coincidence. Do you see that face there? Thursday. There's the eye, nose, mouth. It's in everything you see, and it's in everything they do. And unfortunately, this has to do with their technological trickery using devices, which is exactly what we should be aware of, which is what I'm making you aware of right now.
Our world is bursting
Oh look, a demon's face in the clouds.
at the seams. There are hundreds of active volcanoes on Earth, each one capable of exploding with little warning.
The second thing, you gotta remember this world is frequency based and that they've lied to you about everything. So a lot of the sensors pick up data, it is not what we've perceived it to be, and often they're the ones that are the inputting this data, and that is caused by geoengineering, weather modification, and frequency devices. Secondly, the Geiger counter and radiation from nuclear fallout and stuff like that is another lie. Look into Galen Winter's work, who worked with it and actually ate it.
One time, up to 30 of these active volcanoes are in an eruptive phase. Viewed from space.
Viewed from space, so viewed from this composite image that's completely computer generated and has no bearing on reality whatsoever.
Patterns begin to emerge.
By the way, this is a plan to get away with everyone else thinking that the Ring of Fire has to do with nature. It is a lie. It has to do with them destroying under the guise of nature. So that people believe that when cataclysm comes, it has to do with that rather than the governments and their agendas to depopulate the planet. The Earth, the created Earth, not this shit Earth that they've generated, but the real Earth that you live on.
One of the most active volcanoes is in the southwest corner of the Pacific.
Secondly, when I do more research into this, I know that this has to do with creation, and so when I do finally get my research done fully, I will prove that this has to do with creation, and I will show you in my drawings how this relates to the created Earth and how all this imagery is fake CGI nonsense, because all their principles are based on a lie that was created by the banking elite in the 1800s.
In the island nation of Vanuatu.
Still talk today. Vanuatu.
This tiny archipelago is home to a very special volcano.
The landscape here is incredible. And I don't know all the answers, but there's certain features that occur that makes you go, oh, okay. What does that really mean then? And so I've not really worked out everything yet in terms of the geological landscape.
Producing more poisonous gas
So
than
much
almost
mysteries.
any other volcano in the world.
Gases are part of creation. This looks like another sort of vent, yeah, made from the stone, that is releasing this into the atmosphere. This has to do with creation and not what they've been telling you.
Marum is a sight to behold. And at its heart is a rare...
More pyramids. Definitely. You know, they're all over the world. They're connected to all sites.
lake of lava.
Did you see that? You see? Subliminal cuts of lava coming out of that, when I guarantee that, you know, watch. What's coming out of this at the minute? So they shot from this, all this steam, and then all
And
of
at
a
its
sudden,
heart
they're just going over the edge.
is a rare
Gonna look
lake
over.
of lava.
They're gonna look over. Yeah, because that's not what is there, is it? You understand? That flickering there of the. Do it again. Let's do it again. One more time. So that this cold air, this volcano, this vent,
Another volcano in the world.
and
Marum is a sight to
just
behold.
about to go over it.
And at its heart
At the heart
is
of
a
it.
rare lake of lava.
And there's a lake of lava there. Oh, and then they shoot for this. Come on.
The conditions here have attracted biologist Dr. Jeffrey Marlowe
Well, just show us what's
and
over
Dr.
there.
Jens Kallmeyer to conduct a pioneering expedition.
Ancient tree. Cut down. Torn down, perhaps because of this bit. Cut. You know. Cut down. I'll be interested to see aerial images going through time of this place. What's this over here? That looks like possibly a tree that could have been placed there. Perhaps to build a wall or something. You know? Look. Looks like a route. It goes down. It carries on going back there. That's very straight. So they had power to move these
So we're in
things
the
too, see?
Vanuatu Island arc. It's a chain of
Makes
active
you question
volcanoes, many of them.
everything you
we
think
can
you know
see
about the
some-
ancient past. See, never pyramid there, look. You see it? Because there are several through ancient history, through geological time, i.e., you know, the time of the man, the time of giants, and the time of the titans, various building stages of pyramids around the world. And so there are massive pyramids around the world that they're not even telling you about, that are ginormous. I'm talking huge, you know? And that's probably one of them. You know, and how these are connected to the one world culture and ancient past, and how these things have been replicated through time but got smaller.
Amazing volcanoes up this way. We're on an island that has two very active ones, and we're going up there right now.
So that's
Jeff
just
is going to descend into the crater to search for extremophiles.
Okay, this landscape looks like it's been deliberately changed. Can you see the like these terraces? You know, this is definitely evidence of machines and machined work. This is very indicative of ancient cultures.
Microorganisms that are some of the toughest forms of life on Earth.
I study life in extreme environments, but this is certainly the most extreme environment I've been to. This is my second expedition to Marum, but I have no idea what to expect.
Wow, what are they actually showing you right here? They're on the edge. That's them there. This is the wall, the drop. And supposedly there's some lava down there, right?
Entire cliffs can fall away or be created. The landscape inside the
show you
crater
that?
is constantly evolving.
Wow. Holy crap!
There it is. So what are we looking at, really? Yet again? We're just looking at a hole, really, aren't we? At the bottom of this cliff. With lava running through it. So... is this really what they're saying it is?
It's going like crazy.
I'm a geologist for 20 years, but I've never seen anything like that.
There we go.
Lava lakes are rare. Only a handful of volcanoes.
Is this a lava lake? Or does this connect to other things, just like all the rivers do, just like everything else does to creation? I think you'll find the answers are yes. This is not a lava lake.
Volcanoes in the world.
This is just a hole in the fucking ground, and all intents and purposes shows that things are not what we perceive it to be.
Host active pools of lava like this.
I can see face light
200
in the
feet
lava, by
wide.
the way.
It's a giant
FYI.
gateway to the planet's beating heart. What the team finds here could change the way we think about the extremes of life on Earth.
Secondly, when you do UFO research and find out that your craft come in and out of certain places like this, you must have to then think in your mind, okay, what the hell's going on? First of all, how can this craft go into this very, very hot area? And secondly, where the hell are they going if they're going in there and coming out again? Does this not ring alarm bells to the fact that a lot of these places are connected to the gods? And why they've labelled these places volcanoes, etc., when they're actually part of the creation?
And could also help us understand the likelihood of finding life elsewhere in our universe.
Heck, this is where we're about to camp.
This small camp is going to be home for the team.
The landscape sort of reminds me of trees. That's all I was going to say. Going back to that stump and how it looks like just branches just laying on the ground and covered in, well, mud and stuff, you know.
For the next few days.
Home sweet home.
Meeting the scientists on the summit is expedition specialist Chris Horsley. Chris is an expert in rope access and rigging. He's climbed in some of the world's most dangerous environments. He's been on top of the volcano for a week, setting up lines and anchors, ready for the journey to the bottom of the crater. He wastes no time in getting everyone together to discuss the challenges ahead.
Essentially, guys, everything up here is trying to kill you. We've got volcanic shards of glass flying through the air, acid rain, sulfuric clouds, and a 400-meter vertical cliff that, if you fall off, there's no return. Our rigging place is just over here. That's going to be then.
Right, let's look at this camera shot from his phone. Do you see that the camera here has stretched the image, and that when they actually look with their eyes, this is going to be a lot closer to their vision than you can see in this image? Again, this is literally showing you deception of the camera, because their eyes, when they're there, it will be a lot closer. Look how tiny that hole is. You know it's much bigger than that. It's twice the size of that hole, in fact, if you were stood there on that edge in real life.
A 200-meter rappel, and we can find our best anchor point to re-anchor our ropes that are going to take us all the way down to the bottom and to the boulder field that's located over here.
Our main goal of being here is to see if there's any life inside the crater. And when we do get down to the bottom, how close do you think it is?
Do you really think that's their main goal, to be here? Probably not.
Is possible to get.
If at any point I think it's too dangerous, or I'm worried about your safety, I'm going to pull a pin and take you out of there. This is one of these rare examples.
So this shot here, the camera is zoomed in on it, right? From the top, where they're stood.
Something that is so vicious and so angry that more people have been into space than visited this insanely magical place.
More people have been to space than seen this magical place. Right, mate. No, No one's been to space. Lots of people have been to low Earth orbit. Yes. Space doesn't exist. Because everything we see is CGI composites that has no bearing upon our reality, because it was all created by the banking elite in the 1800s and are based on lies. So there you go. You have been here and seen this.
So after our safety briefing, I feel a little bit more nervous than I might have been. We're going to be sampling as we kind of approach the lava lake itself, and we want to know when life stops, when it's too hazardous for anything to survive.
Well, going on what they keep telling us, tardigrades can literally take any environment. So it's expected that life can probably be living in there. Secondly, as I've already said, that UFOs go in there. I'm sure it goes to somewhere else that eventually will lead to life.
Samples we're after are extremely rare, and they're going to tell us hopefully some really important things about the way life works and the possibility of how life could exist elsewhere in our solar system.
What solar system? Space is water. Their heavens above was separated from... Sorry, the waters above was separated from the waters below. So, why is the sky blue? Perhaps you've been lied to.
I'm hoping we can do all of that, do it in a safe way, and kind of meet the time constraints that we have.
The team settles into camp and starts preparing for the descent.
Do you see how this is definitely some kind of pyramid here? You know, ancient culture's been here, and they chopped that tree down and they've put it in place somewhere. They can move things.
Earth's volcanoes are not limited to
geoengineering.
far-flung tropical islands. Erupting volcanoes are found on every continent. And while Marum continues to erupt, one of the planet's largest volcanoes rips the Earth into pieces on the southern edge of Europe.
Here we go. Does Etna connect to the gods? That's the first question you must ask yourselves. Was there ancient culture here in the ancient past? That's the second thing you must ask yourselves. Thirdly, you must ask yourselves, do the people in charge want us to know the truth in the time of great evil about the ancient past and the gods and who created this place? Okay, we know the answer is no. So, would they then attack these places which are connected to the gods? Because they hate them. They hate everything of the creation, and they're actually trying to destroy this created earth, of which we are the gardeners of it. So, these are the things you must ask yourself when you look at these images. Does it look like something has been bombing this place? Yes. Certain areas it does. You'll see.
Mount Etna has been erupting for around 500,000 years.
There we go. 500,000 years. Right. 500,000 years is probably about right for when creation actually started, roughly, according to the Sumerian literature. So that statement is actually probably closer to the truth than you could ever imagine, and yet it's no, you know, it's a lie, isn't it? So it's 500,000, sorry, years. Just 500,000, yeah. That's about right.
And like Marum, it might hold precious clues to how Earth became a planet fit for life.
Right, what did they do there with those subliminal images? Flashes. This what did they say?
And like Marum, it might hold precious clues to how Earth became a planet.
Okay. It might hold precious clues to how Earth became a planet. The Earth is created, okay? These are part of the mechanisms in which govern our existence, because the banking elite have lied to you about reality.
Fit for life. It ebbs.
Water, frequencies, is the answer to life. Life itself is the answer to life, because all the landscape is, you know, things that were alive at one point turned to stone, which proves the Bible right, that there was a time of the titans, giants, and now a time of man, and that the earth is not at all 6, billions of years old as they keep saying it to be. You know, they've lied about everything, and unfortunately there is a great deal of information one must know.
And flows from periods of relative peace to catastrophic eruptions that threaten the lives of those that live closest.
Okay, those last images were very, let's say, close-up images of lava spewing out. And does that necessarily mean it's just like that hole, that it really has that much of an impact? You know? I'm saying it does in terms of climate, absolutely, that these things are a part of creation in terms of the clouds and in terms of the chemicals in the atmosphere and everything else that cool the planet down or whatever, warm it up. However it is, it's part of a cyclical part of creation. However, the people that, you know, have done this great deception upon your mind are using this knowledge to basically kill everything on this planet. You know, using frequencies like devices like HARP, and literally directing weather to hit certain targets. You know, these people have no interest in humanity's self-preservation at all. And so you must begin to see that everything's a lie, and know that who is responsible for it and why, and that it has everything to do with creation, and the true answers to our salvation rest in the ancient past, in creation.
Yet for some, living here is a gamble worth...
I mean, is these 2 pyramids that have basically been covered in sand and mud from the flood? Or are they recent, you know, that's recently been covered?
Taking. The soil created by Etna's eruptions produces some of the richest agricultural land and finest wines in the whole of Italy.
Firstly, when you research the Amazon, and that the most fertile soil there was actually created by ancient cultures, what I'm suggesting is that perhaps in certain perspectives the soil here is equally as good because the ancient culture lived here at one time, and that they actually cared for the planet, and they actually, you know, created a lot of stuff that we see today that we take for granted.
The unique way of life on the slopes of Europe's most active volcano is what drew Dr. Salvo Giamanco here. It's his job to help predict Mount Etna's next move.
Most of the people living here see Etna as a mother, and like all mothers, she gives us life through the vegetation, the plants. But like all mothers, she, sometimes she slaps us in the face, and she reminds us of the rules that are in this environment.
Most of the year, Etna degasses. And the gas offers precious clues to what's happening inside the volcano.
You can think of an eruption a bit like the opening of a spumante bottle. Before opening it, you don't see the gas. It's a liquid that stays there without showing signs of any activity. But once you start to open the bottle, you'll see the gas suddenly forming bubbles, and those bubbles will give the final energy to the magma to rise to the surface and eventually erupt. So the gas is the real engine of eruptions.
Right. So, it's difficult to try and make you understand that this is all just not part of something that should happen, and that certain things through history have been used to make you believe a lie about a lot of things, and that this whole agenda is created by the elite, and that they've been bombing these ancient sites, etc., and blaming it on nature, volcanoes and stuff. Now, there's a mix between showing you real imagery, truth and lies, and understanding a great deal of information, and knowing that, for example, this event and certain events aren't what they seem, but an attack upon these ancient sites. But I wish I had my drawing capability, because do you see the amount of faces you can see in the smoke? It's just demonic alien beings' faces.
As gas drives volcanic eruptions, Salvo and his team are today trying to determine how much is coming out of the volcano. Different types of gas are released when the magma rises to certain depths. An increase in particular gases could mean that magma...
So, this is a very interesting image of it, isn't it? From above. I think it's very difficult for many to see that this is not what we've been told it to be. By which I mean this is kind of like either evidence of a massive bomb being targeted this place, and them coming here to do like research to see what they can see and find out what they can know, about what damage they did, etc. and stuff, because
is racing towards the
these
surface.
institutions are not trustworthy.
And this close to the volcano, even a small eruption could have deadly consequences.
There are many risks when working here. The gases, they are highly corrosive.
And that's the thing I want to show you. I mean, this guy's hat, he's got the pyramid on it with the black and white symbol inside it. He can't be trusted. Plain and simple, he's lying to you, and there's an agenda why these people are here.
And also, we are on the rim of the central crater.
Camp. I mean, how original. Camp Wolf, in the style of a pyramid, with the black and white symbolism. He's a Freemason, you know, and he's gay as well. So it rings alarm bells to know, when you know what I know, that he's here for another purpose, and that they're lying about what this is.
Where an explosion may occur at any time.
An explosion may occur at any time. Really?
It's a race against time to get the data and get out.
Ok, allora vediamo I risultati. Each time the gas passes in between the infrared source and the sensor, we get a lot of dips in our spectrum, each one corresponding to a specific gas species, and each one giving us the concentration of that specific gas species.
Today,
So this place, right? Look at this lot. That, this entire thing looks like it's been bombed, man. Do you not see it? It's so just not right. It don't look right, you know? It don't look right at all. Looks definitely something like just caused the crater there.
the team doesn't see any drastic changes in the level of gases. Yet there is one gas in the data that is more important than nearly any other.
So we see carbon dioxide, we see chlorine, we see fluorine, we see sulfur dioxide, but the most important one is water vapor.
There we go, people. This is the main contributor to climate. The volcanoes. Yes. You see, and they're not what they've told you. The main contributor.
From its liquid state to its vapor state, it increases its volume by 1,000 times.
It's a part, this is a part of creation. And they've been bombing it, man.
Water vapor is a driver of volcanic eruptions. And on any given day, Mount Etna releases hundreds of thousands of tons of it into the atmosphere.
So every time a volcano erupts, every time a volcano breathes, it emits this life-giving gas.
So, without volcanoes, we wouldn't have weather. We wouldn't have clouds. And so do you see the importance of how these mechanisms play in this reality, this created world? You know, and how they're not insignificant and they're not random, you know, and it didn't happen by chance at all.
The origins of water on Earth have been debated by scientists for hundreds of years.
Okay, here we go, another topic. How did the water get here on Earth? Well, that is an almighty question to ask. But when you understand that what space is water, and that this Earth is created, and that the rivers all flow like the bronchi in your lungs, and that it's all created, you'll begin to go, okay, then the water comes from space, right? And yet, that is exactly what NASA is saying, right? That water comes from space, but space is not what you think it is because it's water. There we go. There's the answer. You know, it is called advanced engineering by the gods, who will return to cleanse this earth, because many of you do not even believe in creation. You do not believe in your soul. You do not see evil in this world, and you do not engage with it to bring out the light in yourself through knowledge. Look at this ancient site, man. I can't point and look when this thing's there, but you can see down here. You know, looks like a tree been cut. And again, how certain things have been shaped. The landscape's been shaped.
Some believe that water was delivered by comets. But recently, there has been mounting evidence for a different explanation. To explore this theory, we have to wind the geologic clock back 4 billion years.
No, we don't. Because that is just another composite that has no bearing on reality and all based on false principles. What you have to do is realise this and go, okay, geology's life, therefore they've lied about everything. You know, mud fossils exist that are of the time of the giants and they got washed away by the flood, which is real, and that Noah's Ark has been discovered exactly where it should be. You see, this whole thing has no bearing on reality, and hell a lot of you are stuck on the cosmological principles because of the television and how they want you to perceive this reality.
To a time when the Earth was hot and still forming.
None of that's no bearing.
The idea is that water has always been on Earth, trapped beneath the crust. It's locked in liquid magma.
No? How about no? How about the water's
But as the
created
Earth's
from the
surface
volcanoes?
began to cool and harden,
The volcanoes are created.
volcanoes acted like a tear in the fabric of our planet.
Oh look, another composite CGI image that reminds you of other stuff you see on television about space and about the moons and all the other shit that has no bearing upon reality.
Allowing the water to
you
slowly
believe it?
escape.
Because you see it on the television. Back to
This
normal
water
image of
vapor
Earth.
then condensed in our atmosphere and fell as rain.
And there we go, there's the answer. The volcanoes were created because that's part of the weather and that created the water. The waters also came from space because this Earth is created and it is plumbed into it through very, very advanced engineering that you should be in awe about.
It rained for so long that it...
Lastly, it rained for millions, billions of years to create all the lakes and rivers and all the things we see. No. With all this climate change going on, do you see it forming any new rivers that we would label as nature? No, you don't. It causes chaos. It is designed as a destructive force that literally destroys anything in its path. So, does that in any way create rivers? No, it doesn't. So therefore, all rivers that we've labelled as nature are created.
Eventually, our dry, barren Earth turned into a blue planet.
Lastly, on this topic, there are no oceans mentioned in the Bible, just seas, rivers, and lakes. So they have lied, they've lied. So about so much.
Water.
The moon does not govern the tides. The creation of everything you think insignificant governs the tides. They are now using this to their advantage and going to cause a massive, massive catastrophic event that has been seen before in the ancient past, and it's all due to our society's ignorance about, wow, everything, creation.
That we see on Earth.
Camp. He's camp, and he's got the triangle, black and white dog. He's a Freemason.
Mostly comes from volcanoes. Without volcanoes, there wouldn't be life on Earth, literally.
How far do you think it is when you look at a horizon and all you can see is the sea from this point to this point? If you got a ruler and you were to put a ruler like this, it would be perfectly straight as you always see it right there in this image. And so, what the hell does that have? Why doesn't this have any bearing upon how you perceive this reality? Look how flat and straight it is, man. That has to do with levels. Back to CGI nonsense.
As the sun sets in Italy, it's slowly rising in Hawaii. One of the most remote island chains on Earth is continuing to be...
See this face here? Eye, mouth, nose. Like nose is there under the 6.
transformed by the raw power of the planet. It's the perfect place to explore how the interior of Earth shapes life at the surface.
Just to show you again. Eye. And they put this in everything they do. Eye, nose, mouth. Can you see it?
Kilauea is the most active volcano in the United States. Its summit crater is large.
Right. Let's just look at this. Again with the camera, it stretches the image to make you think it's further away than it really is. Just to put that out there. And this looks like kind of a canyon here.
But it's not necessarily the most dangerous part of the volcano. The giant flank eruption in 2018 was the most devastating in 200 years.
Did they cause this to happen?
As the volcano's main crater collapsed, millions of tons of lava drained through a series of underground tunnels, emerging in the heart of a residential community.
You see, this, to me, feels like an attack. And I kid you not, these people would literally go stoop that low to label places that are very, you know, to do with creation, to destroy them at the same time, and to destroy the public with it, you know? This is an attack. This was an attack in 2018, there's no doubt about it. They did this.
"700 homes were buried beneath molten rock. And 2,000 people were evacuated. Forests burned and fragile ecosystems were destroyed. Amazingly, no lives were lost. But the recent outbreak in Hawaii is just the latest in a long line of land-creating eruptions.
Let's go back 2 seconds. Do you see how this flows? Well, it's kind of like how rivers do as well, and how it's like, oh, it's complicated. It's like branches and it just like channels.
But the recent outbreak in Hawaii.
So you see how like it's coming into this channel here. You know, it's kind of like this channel was like sort of already created, you know, even though you may perceive that this could create it, which although it could.
Is just the latest in a long line of land-creating eruptions.
That's what I mean, it just looks like it's being channeled. and it's already that kind of route has already been there.
Hawaii was formed by a hot spot of magma beneath the Earth's crust. As the magma reached the surface, volcanoes broke out, creating islands. Over time,
See, none of this is true, you know, because a lot of the things we are life, and so this is what you got to bear in mind, is that what they're showing you here is, again, more lies, using creationism to convince you of an insignificant Earth, and that of something that really isn't true.
tectonic plate on which these islands sit slowly moved, and new islands were created over the hotspot.
You know, look at this head. This is a genuine. I mean, we can do this. I'll take you to Hawaii, you know, in an episode, and we'll literally just use satellite data, and I'll show you how they put the demons' faces in it, and at the same time how everything they've just told us is a lie, because this is a titan that's now been, you know, covered with water, you know, and how this whole image has no bearing upon our existence. You know, how they're lying about everything. Do you see how that's a face? Eye there, nose, and then the mouth, and the head is there, right? You know, and this is why this whole thing is a lie, because they've lied about geological time, and so this whole theory about how these islands formed is nonsense. And so this is what you got to bear in mind, is that I may not know the truth about every single thing, but I know that their core principles are a lie. And so this is what you bear in mind. You have to start again your interpretation, and this is where it gets difficult, because you could have a great deal of information, and you must know a great deal of information to be true.
The island chain we see today is 6 million years worth of eruptive,
You know, 6 million years. It's not.
activity.
You know, do you know they date rock with a lot? There's several several state methods. But when all life is geology, and that, like, they take microorganisms from one stratigraphic layer, say, you know, that of the tertiary epoch, that's supposedly, you know, 65 million years old, and there's microorganisms in that layer through their geological nonsense of time that then gets labelled as, you know, a positive proof of that time period because of that microorganism. And so when people go, oh, I found this microorganism in this layer, oh, that must mean it came from 65 million years ago. I mean, it's nonsense, you know, because what you got to bear in mind is all life is geology, and that, yeah, there are mechanisms in this reality that are a part of creation, and that volcanoes, albeit seem benign, are actually a part of it. You know, without it, as we've said, there wouldn't be no water. You know, the weather wouldn't exist. And so you got to bear in mind it is a part of creation. However, we live in a time where it's all controlled and manipulated by evil at the core of our society, and that these people are using the military to destroy ancient sites and the creation of this world. This is the problem, you know, and so you have to read between the lines of a lot of things in order to and have a lot of discernment in order to even understand what's really going on, and how we ourselves are just vessels being used in this epic battle between good and evil, and that we have all worked for evil because we've all believed their lies about reality.
And it's still creating new land today.
It's not. You see, they've just like they've used like labels like nature, and then these mechanisms, which are actually, you know, generally a part of creation, geographical lies, you know, through the globe earth theory, to convince you of an insignificant world. You know, and then none of that's true, man.
Despite the obvious destruction caused by the volcano, it may be having surprising, positive effects on the ocean ecosystem. Following the recent eruption, scientists from the University of Hawaii...
Here we go. So this is a composite imagery of these islands, yeah, that is used to convince you that globe Earth is real and that these islands were created over millions of years. And yet when you really look carefully at what you see, you'll see that that can never be true, because these islands are actually body parts of animals and human beings and alien beings and other all sorts of different things that completely rewrite and should change your whole interpretation of this reality towards a biblical narrative. Now look at this image, man. Look at what they're trying to show us here. First of all, again, I pointed out the head. Can you see the eye, nose and mouth? It's clear. And then this one over here, that's an eye. You see? So I can show you this stuff. I can go back through time and I can show you ancient cultures that lived there, and more stuff that would change your mind to see that there is something else going on in these around the world involved with the gods and these ancient sites. You know, that have been labeled as nature and the destruction of this created earth. So look at this thing here. Look, what the hell is that? It's got an eye. Its mouth is open. Looks like a really evil fish. And yet look at this. Right on the top of this island, you got a building. It's a massive square complex. Look. See it? Shame I can't zoom in. Can I not? No. No, I can't. But you see what I mean? Look, perfectly straight lines, like, and building within a building there. Can you see that? So that's my point. I've lied to you about what geology is, and history and the ancient past, and we pretty much covered up anything to do with this created earth in order to actually destroy it and to kill pretty much everything, including humanity.
So giant phytoplankton blooms, colored here in blue, on images taken from space.
Really? Were they giant? No, they wasn't.
Could this have been caused by the volcano?
And yes, if it was, because it's life, isn't it?
Lava is rich in phosphate and iron, elements that act as fertilizers. In the enriched waters, phytoplankton exploded.
So, all life is geology, and because of that, it creates what? Life. So where does life come from? And well, they say life comes from space, right? From comets, etc. You know, with the water. So where does life come from exactly?
Phytoplankton is fed on by larger zooplankton. Which in turn provides food for larger animals.
The problem with most people, when you talk about creation, is they do not see the true scale of the engineering. And so this is what I'm trying to educate, that this was a massive, massive undertaking and an effort done by an advanced ancient culture that essentially we ourselves are a part of. And you really must think big in terms of these, in terms of understanding this world, because it is truly amazing when you truly grasp the undertaking and the magnitude of what this culture did and built, and that what we are really a part of and what we're meant to be protecting, and unfortunately we're not.
And nighttime is feeding time. When plankton abundance is high, it draws in huge sea creatures. Ocean giants, like manta rays. They come each night to feed on plankton migrating up to the surface from the depths. Swimming with their mouths wide open, they scoop in water using their modified front fins and filter out the tiny plankton. At the richest feeding sites, they barrel roll to stay within these nutritious plumes.
So how important are the volcanoes for life?
A single manta can consume up to 50 pounds of plankton in a single night. Back in Vanuatu, rain has started to fall. It's an unwelcome complication to the challenges that lie ahead. And bad news for the descent.
So Marum Crater is the world's largest point source of sulfur dioxide. That sulfur dioxide...
Right. This is very important to understand, because as the Book of Enoch states, each vent has a specific function. Now this one is obviously sulfur dioxide. And so, this is my point. I need to do much more research into my drawings and work out which vents are where and where exactly is everything. And then I'll have all the answers. But I need to take some time off work. I need to do a great deal of things. And unfortunately, I just do not have all the time in the world to do everything I want to do. But I need this is a very important thing for me to do, to prove to you that I'm telling you the truth, you know, and that this is how they do it. This is how they use truth and lies.
It mixes with water in the atmosphere and makes...
And fake imagery and Freemasons on the television to convince you of a lie.
Sulfuric acid. When that rains down, you're being bathed by acid. The same thing that makes our descent possible, the idea of this kind of nice line down into the crater, is the same thing that makes it hazardous. It's where all the water goes when it rains. So you're going to have acid rain pushing rock and sediment down this water course at us, at our ropes. We need to wait for a really good day to make the full descent.
They're very reluctant to show you, really.
The same thing that makes it hazardous. It's where all the water goes when it rains. So you're going to have...
Second, mate. That's just... Sorry. I can't get it right.
And bad news for the descent.
So Marum Crater is the world's largest point source of sulfur dioxide. That sulfur dioxide mixes with water in the atmosphere and makes sulfuric acid. When that rains down, you're being bathed by acid. The same thing that makes our descent possible, the idea of this kind of nice line down into...
I am trying to look at the landscape image for a second.